It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.
Hey guys, how's it going? It is Friday, March 12th. This is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we'll get some coronavirus updates, current news from around the world, of course, reviewing that Wednesday message, and then back to the MBTI 16 Personalities segment with Wanchan. So, yes, guys, it is Friday. How are you guys doing? Friday has come, the weekend is here, and I'm sure all of you are getting ready for another amazing weekend. So, hope you guys are ready for some fun, some relaxation, realizations, direction, and kind of love from the Lord, especially this week when we're going to be celebrating 316. All right, new direction through the Sunday message. Of course, it's going to be a 316 commemoration message, so hope you guys are going to look forward to that. And, of course, then on Tuesday is the actual day. So, let's get things kicked off here together on the Morning Star Drive. So keep liking and commenting, and I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. So post your song requests, questions, and stories too. Oh, and also, guys, tonight there's going to be Espresso with Sky channel. Our YouTube channel is going to have another video coming out, so go ahead and check it out. And for this video, guys, I want you guys to write down in the comments for this Espresso with Sky YouTube video. I believe it's about My Life is Ruined, okay? It's about how everyone has expectation that this one decision will determine the rest of your life kind of thing. And in most cases, it isn't. But what should we do for this one? For this one, in the comments, guys, I want to hear from you. What is your favorite? We've done color already and pets. So what's another release? Okay. I got this one. Okay. For this one, put down your favorite hobby. Okay, your favorite hobby. It could be sports, instruments, something like that. Put your favorite hobby down for that video, and let's see what your hobbies are, and I'll tell you guys mine also. Okay, and remember, this Sunday edition, we'll be meeting another member from America. It is Hannah Mulvihill, and she's currently in medical school, running hard in this history for the Lord. So be sure to check out the interview for that Sunday edition. You guys are sure to love that one, and hope you guys are really enjoying the Sunday edition interviews, really getting to meet each other in an intimate way and see what different members have gone through in their lives before and after coming into this history. And I just want to let you guys know, Patreon too, new videos coming out every week. Hopefully you guys, well, you know, there's two types of people that join Patreon, right? There's one group of people that are kind of looking for the lecture training, looking for something new. And then there's another group of people, which is the majority on Patreon right now, is they're just kind of supporting. Right? So they just kind of support on Patreon because just for the sake of supporting. So they don't really watch anything. That's why when you look at most of the this is what most of the most of the people, you're not going to see them watching the lecture trainings and stuff like that, because their purpose of supporting is just supporting. So whichever you are, go ahead. We're trying to reach to 200, especially before our, guess what, guys, is coming up soon in like 7 days, guys. No, not 7 days. In 5 days, it'll be our 1-year anniversary for the Morning Star Drive, which is crazy awesome. We've done it for an entire year, so super grateful and thankful. All right, guys. So let's get into today's featured artist of the day on this relaxing Friday. We're going to start off with Kuma-chung from Japan. We're going to hear the song Takara. And then second will be Man and Groom from the Paper Music Association in Korea, and that song is My Blessing. And then last but not least, it's the Sumney Boys from America, and the song is Better. Of course, all these music is coming from our member artists from around the world, so make sure you support them, buying their albums, listening to their music, but most importantly, remember, as always, make sure you keep them in your prayers.
自分の中の宝掘り出して新たな世界へ goしてたせいそこから抜け出すための答えを与え僕たちを悟らせた前さあ前へ進んでサバイブリバイブする世界正解はそう一人一人がからしなねだね芽を出し育てたら収穫今こそ深く実践が書くどんな環境だとしても今できる最善を尽くそうさあふてくされてないで立ち上がろう のフェイス Let's go 歴史を出してこうこの未来を開いてこう自分の中の宝掘り出して新たな世界へ Go 何もしたくない日や辛い時だってあるだろうそんな時は思い出していつだって一緒だってことを Yes Yeah Opens the door 心の扉開けばほら見えてくるから TKR 得たから過去を映し出すバックミラー誰かが言ったそんなものはどこにもない夢に過ぎない現実見なさい OK ならもっと燃やそうぜ意志超える壁は自分自身どんな環境だとしても今できる最善を尽くそうさあ下を向いてないで立ち上がろうそれがあなたのフェイス Let's go! 毎日すれば良くなるから宝のありか知るのは誰かその答え探す旅に出ようか今フライ一人で悩むのもうやめにしな Come on
歴史を出してこうこの未来を開いてこう自分の中の宝掘り出して新たな世界へ Go 一人で悩んで泣きたい時だってあるだろうそんな時は歴史を出してこうこの未来を開いてこう自分の中の宝掘り出して新たな世界へ Go 何もしたくない日や辛い時だってあるだろうそんな時は思い出していつだって一緒だってことを Step by step 毎日 Everyday チャレンジ Step by step 毎日 Everyday チャレンジ Step by step 毎日 Everyday チャレンジ Step by step
Red Top Boy.
말씀이 올라서 하나님 날 더 감싸줘 남 어디 가서 못 살아 품 안에서 맥붐을 이뤄내 아무렇지 않게 나는 웃어보이네 어디 가는지 알아도 나는 못 말해 가끔 사탄이 찾아와서 내게 말해 공감한 내 성경을 묻어 내 가슴에 꿈속에서 나는 범죄자매 매밤마다 꾸는 내 악몽은 이제 치료를 해야 돼 내 혼의 SOS 기도를 해줘야겠어 나를 위해 첫사랑에 빠졌을 때 위체 위를 서핑하는 나를 봤을 거야 짐승들은 못하는 웨이브 내 손에 주에 손이 따스히 올랐을 때 그 순간을 잊지 못해 나는 여기 죽어가고 있네 어서 살려야 돼널 사랑같이 녹아버려 결국 공허해 나는 못 참겠어 어서 주의 품 안에 말씀이 올라서 하나님 날 더 감싸줘 남 어디 가서 못 살아 품 안에서 맥붐을 이뤄내 아무렇지 않게 나는 웃어 보이네 어디 가는지 알아도 나는 못 말해 가끔 사탄이 찾아와서 내게 말해 공감한 내 성경을 묻어 내 가슴에 밤이 너무 길어져 내 목소리는 안 어두워 내 정신도 안 어두워 그 느낌이 말해 재미가 있었나 난 너무 즐겼나봐 밤대로 난 너무 고통 받았어 어서 치러줘 패배를 몰라 내 성격 오뚜기처럼 일어서 빛을 본 이상 못 멈춰 이러면 이상 고pon져 아무도 몰라 그게 왜 걸주께서 맡겼어 웨폰 고박의 사랑이 더 컸어만 섭리했던 왕복 이러자고 밤마다 계속 사귀었던 못된 악마들 야가봐 받은 사랑을 그 전에 아무것도 말 말씀이 올라서 하나님 날 더 감싸줘 남 어디 가서 못 살아
can't believe it when I'm with you, love. I can't believe it that we even talk. I don't know how it's real. I don't know how you feel. I wish I wasn't flawed, I don't mean to. 'Cause you deserve better and you know it. But don't let me go. Please don't let me go. I'm wrong, I'm flawed. I'm not the perfect person that you want. But I'm strong, I'll make myself better for you. I know I have a lot of bad moments, but I pray you still see the good in me. Everything that I've done to get here, I got a lot of things still working, see. I know that I messed up, something I say time and time again, over and over again. Always saying that I wanna do better, I keep pushing back again. But now I'm making the effort to show you I'm making it better. Made up my mind to get it together and become perfect no matter the pressure. Okay. I know in the past that I love you way better, and now it hurts knowing that I could do better. Let's talk about this, for you deserve better. I'm wrong, I'm flawed. I'm not the perfect person that you want. But I'm strong, I'll make myself better for you. I'll overcome myself again. I'll always make myself again. I won't quit, no, I won't quit. I'm wrong, I'm flawed. I'm not the perfect person that you want. But I'm strong, I'll make myself better for you. Better for you. Better for you.
And that was the Somebody Boys from America with the song Better. Before that was Man and Groom from the Paper Music Associates in Korea, and that song was My Blessing. And of course, Kumachang from Japan, and that song was Takara. All right. So let's get into some of the news going on this last day of the week, on this beautiful and wonderful Friday, especially here in Malaysia. It's nice, hot, and warm and tropical. So I'm enjoying the weather here all the time, even though sometimes it's a little bit too hot, right? So let's start off with the coronavirus updates for today. Globally, there's 118.6 million cases in the world, with 2.6 million deaths at a 2.22% mortality rate. The US, 29.8 million cases, 542,000 deaths at 1.82%, which is an increase in the mortality rate. India, 11.2 million cases, 158,000 deaths at 1.4%. Brazil catches up in cases with 11.2 million cases, 270,000 deaths, and 2.42%. Once again, that mortality rate is going up, and we're going to hear more about Brazil in the current news. France, 3.9 million cases, 89,000 deaths at 2.26%. Italy remaining strong at 3.1 million cases, 100,000 deaths at 3.23%. And then Poland rounds up the top six with 1.8 million cases, 45,000 deaths at 2.52%. Sweden, one of the only countries not to go into full lockdown, 1.86%. And then Belgium, 2.81% mortality rate. Now, daily infection rates, Brazil back on top. There's only one day that U.S. went a little bit above. Brazil with 80,000 cases in a day, and the U.S. with 60,000. So there, the gap is growing. France with 30,000, and then India and Italy with both 22,000 cases in a day, and then Poland with 17,000 cases. And over here in Southeast Asia, it is Indonesia with 5,600 cases in a day, the Philippines with 2,800, and then Malaysia over here staying steady at around 1,400 cases in a given day. So let's take a look at some of the current news that's happening around the world. And we're going to start off with Hong Kong. We did talk a little bit about them before, about the new new plan for China to control the elections over there in Hong Kong, and it was something that was really scary and a lot of countries were against, but it has been approved. China approves a patriotic plan to control elections. So China's legislature has approved a resolution to overhaul Hong Kong's electoral system, its latest move to tighten control over the city. And basically, the Patriots Governing Hong Kong resolution was passed at the National People's Congress on Thursday, and it will reduce Democratic representation and allow a pro-Beijing panel to vet and elect candidates. So the former British colony was handed back to China in 1997 under a model called One Country, Two Systems. Under the deal, which gave the territory freedoms not available in mainland China, Hong Kong also had its own mini-constitution and an elected parliament. Now, the latest Chinese move follows a series of measures that have tightened Beijing's grip on Hong Kong, including the passing of a national security law and a crackdown on activists and opposition politicians. Now, detailed legislation will now be drafted and could be enacted in Hong Kong within the next few months. So the UK says it will hollow out the space for democratic debate in Hong Kong, and other critics say they will effectively wipe out any remaining opposition. So it's almost 24 years after China took back control of Hong Kong from Britain. This was the moment it remade the freewheeling, sometimes unruly territory's political system in its own image. The symbolism couldn't have been starker. Seated in the Great Hall of the People, 2,895 delegates voted in favor of the changes, none of them against it, which is a telltale sign something's wrong. Whether the one abstention was a miscue on the electronic voting buttons or a lone act of defiance, we'll never know. And there have been other milestones in recent years at which observers have pronounced the death of Hong Kong. Right? The national security law, for example, has all but wiped out the ability to express dissent on the streets. And once again, China is arguing that this reform, with this political loyalty test for candidates, is necessary to ensure stability. But critics will argue it abolishes another fundamental underpinning of the city's special freedoms, the ability to channel dissent through the political process itself. So the pro-democracy protests, although sometimes violent, were accompanied by mass popular support, with as many as 2 million taking peacefully to the streets. In late 2019, the Democrats won a landslide in Hong Kong's local elections, the city's only truly democratic ballot, and that may have spooked Beijing more than barricades and patrol bombs, but is its victory now complete? It's very sad, the former Democratic Party chairwoman Emily Lau said. But she insists this doesn't mean the game is over for Hong Kong because the fight will go on. So what does this mean for Hong Kong, guys? Hong Kong's parliament or legislative council helps to make Hong Kong's laws. It is made up of 70 seats, but only about half are directly voted by the public. In recent years, some of the seats have been filled by pro-democracy figures. The other half has almost been filled by smaller groups representing special interests such as business, banking, and trade, sectors which are historically pro-Beijing. And the proposed new law will give Hong Kong's heavily pro-Beijing electoral vetting committee the power to vet all legislative council candidates and elect many of its members. So Hong Kong's leader, Carrie Lam, says she and Hong Kong's government firmly support the move. And what has Hong Kong's reaction been like? Well, what they're really referring to when they say patriot is that they will pick the people that they like, someone who is one of them, right? This is what the residents are saying. And it's a step backwards, becoming more like mainland China. And then there's others that support the law. So Hong Kong has already basically returned to China now. Other people are saying, when you look at the situation. But the international reaction is pretty bleak. So the UK former secretary, Dominic Raab, said the dilution of elections in Hong Kong would further undermine trust in China. However, the Chinese embassy in London's in London told the BBC that the UK and China had a different definition of democracy. So this is kind of it's finally been approved by Hong Kong. So yeah, it's pretty crazy what direction that's going. Let's move on to Brazil then. So we'll take a look at some coronavirus news here in Brazil. Brazil's surge reaches new levels as daily deaths pass 2,000, right? So Brazil has exceeded the 2,000 COVID-related deaths in a single day for the first time as infection rates soar. So it's after more than a year. The country has a second highest death toll in the world behind the U.S., and experts warn the transmission rate is made worse by the different variants, right, that are coming out, especially the one in Brazil, right? So a lot of people are saying that the president is making dumb decisions, And the president has also downplayed the threat from the virus and earlier told the people to stop whining. And the surge in cases has put health systems in most of Brazil's largest cities under immense pressure, with many close to collapse. So this is what Brazil's leading public health center, Fiocruz, warns, right? So there's another doctor and researcher at Fiocruz named Margaret Dal Colmo that said the country is at the worst moment of the pandemic, and 2021 is still going to be a very hard year. Right, so Wednesday saw Brazil record 2,286 deaths, bringing its total to 268,370. Then, of course, another 2,000 deaths just today to bring it over 270,000. And it means Brazil has a rate of 128 deaths per 100,000, which is 11th highest amongst 20 of the worst affected countries in the world. And the highest rates are in the Czech Republic, with 208 deaths per 100,000, the UK with 188 deaths per 100,000, right? And this is according to Johns Hopkins University. So Thursday is the anniversary of a pandemic being declared by the WHO, and worldwide more than 118 million cases of the virus have been recorded, with more than 2.6 million deaths. And, of course, Brazil, you're getting the worst of it. They're getting 80,000 cases in a day. Right, and and then over 2,200 people die on Wednesday itself. So it is pretty bad over there, and we're hoping that things get better too. Good thing is they are number 3 in the world when it comes to people who are vaccinated, but let's hope that they can do it even better. Okay, so last on the news, last but not least, is about a generation is threatened as the coronavirus hinders child development, and this comes from UNICEF. Okay, so a UN agency says closed schools, surging poverty, forced marriages, and depression are among factors worsening the problem. So UNICEF has warned that indicators measuring child and adolescent development have all regressed after a year of the pandemic, a setback that threatens to damage an entire generation. So United Nations Agency for Children said on Thursday that closed schools, surging poverty, forced marriages, and depression are among other factors undermining the development of minors. So the number of children who are hungry, isolated, abused, anxious, living in poverty, and forced into marriage has increased, right? This is the executive director of UNICEF. And if you compare it exactly to last year, and their access to education, socialization, and essential services, including health, nutrition, and protection, has decreased, and the signs that children will bear the scars of the pandemic for years to come are unmistakable, right? So faced with such devastating effects, their urge for children to be placed at the heart of recovery efforts, particularly prioritizing schools in reopening plans. Right, this is UNICEF, the UN, guys. So the worrying figures, UNICEF cited a series of worrying figures in support of this executive director. While the pandemic has taken a heavy toll on the elderly, children and adolescents under 20 make up 13% of the 71 million coronavirus cases reported in the 107 countries that provided age-specific data. So in developing countries, projections show a 15% increase in child poverty. 6 to 7 million more children could suffer from malnourishment in 2020, an increase of 14% that could translate to more than 10,000 additional deaths per month, mainly in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. And for 168 million students around the world, schools have been closed for nearly a year. A third of those students do not have access to online education. So as a result of the shuttered schools and worsening economic situation, the pandemic could also lead to the marriage of 10 million children by 2030, adding to the 100 million girls already considered at risk of marriage by then. So at least 1 in 7 children or adolescents has spent the majority of the past year under lockdown orders and faces increasing anxiety, depression, and isolation. So the coronavirus has also led to the suspension of vaccination campaigns against other diseases, starting with measles, and in 26 countries, increasing threats to the health of non-immunized people, guys. So, it's out already, and a lot of people have been saying this, and they've basically been chastised for saying this, but they said number one right now, when you look at the health and growth and development of children, is reopening schools, right? The effects are much, much bigger than what is happening. And we all know, when you look at the statistics, children, especially like under 16, they are like almost super immune to the coronavirus. And that's something that we really have to think about. But this is how bad it's really getting. And I think that is something we really need to pray for, that these kids go back into school. And I think it's something we should really, really praying for too. Okay, so what does that mean, guys? Let's go into, what are we getting into, guys? Oh, yes. Let's get into the time of praise and worship, okay? So what kind of praise and worship we're going to sing today? Well, we got a couple songs here just to get our hearts going. We're going to start with Let's Go, The Time Has Come. Yes, the time has come to Rapture. Rapture is right around the weekend, guys. And then we'll sing together, and of course, going to give praise to the Holy Trinity, and then we're going to sing the new songs of the Lord. All right, guys? So as one body of the Morning Star Drive, let's give praise and worship to the Holy Trinity.
Come on, time to go now. Heaven's time has arrived now. Heaven is waiting, and all those clouds of people too. They waited for this time. Do the right work at the right time. There is a product God has given me. At that instant, don't miss the chance. Don't let time just pass you by. I always keep this proverb within my brain. It's engraved deep down in my bones. In all I do, everywhere that I may go, I take action. With the thoughts that come at each time, faster than light, I get it done. I always gain what I should gain. At that instant, don't miss the chance. Don't let time just pass you by. I always keep this proverb within my brain. It's engraved deep down in my bones. In all I do, everywhere that I may go, I take action. With the thoughts that come at each time, faster than light, I get it done. I always gain what I should gain. Sing these songs with me. Lift up your praise. Everyone, let us sing. Glorify the Trinity. In a flash, we transformed. We become heaven's brides. We are theirs for all time. Sing about memories, stories we shared. Everyone join in one heart. Let's dance and sing. Since we know the Trinity's endless love, joy is ours, life is happy. We'll live with grateful hearts, thankful in spirit, body, and soul. So as we sing, With the Lord we converse joyfully. This is eternal love. This is heaven. Sing about memories, stories we shared. Everyone join in one heart. Let's dance and sing. Since we know the Trinity's endless love. Joy is ours, life is happy. We'll live with grateful hearts, thankful in spirit, body, and soul. So as we sing, let us rejoice. We'll dance and fall deeper in love. With the Lord we converse joyfully. This is eternal love. This is heaven. So as we sing, let us rejoice. We'll dance and fall deeper in love. With the Lord we converse joyfully. This is eternal love. This is heaven. This is eternal love. This is heaven.
From the Lord's great new songs, the word overflows. With the Lord and the Trinity, we've fulfilled heaven's will. Only through love all was fulfilled. Now my spirit holds the wedding feast up in heaven. Through the Lord all was revealed. After 6,000 years, it's the true history of the Lord. The Spirit holds the Lord tightly in both of her arms. This is the 1,000-year history. Love is ours evermore. From the Lord's great new songs, the word overflows. With the Lord was fulfilled. Now my spirit holds the wedding feast up in heaven. Through the Lord all was revealed. After 6,000 years, it's the true history of the Lord. The Spirit holds the Lord tightly in both of her arms. This is the 1,000-year history. Love is ours evermore. The Spirit holds the Lord tightly in both of her arms. This is the 1,000-year history. Love is ours evermore.
And that was the new songs of the Lord. And of course, before that was Let's Sing Together and Let's Go, The Time Has Come. All right, guys, so let's get into some word study for today. And of course, we had the Wednesday message. And I hope you guys really, really enjoyed it being preached from your head leaders from around the world. I was very fortunate once again to listen to everything in English, and I was here at the Lord's Hope Church over here in Malaysia. Let me just get a quick drink of water because, like I said, it's tropical here. It's always hot. Actually, technically speaking, I'm in a room that's air conditioned, so I'm kind of lying, and I can't really lie to you guys, right? All right, so let's get into the Wednesday message and see what's going on there. So the message, really, really good once again, and for me, I was just relieved, or not relieved, not the word relieved, but just really happy to hear it in my native language. Just really, really happy to hear it, right? Where it doesn't have to be translated. I don't have to think any further, oh, wait, what does that mean in English again? But it was just straight in my language. Of course, a little bit in Manglish, but I've been here long enough, it's been 2 years, that I understand everything in Manglish. Almost everything. Except, what did someone say to me just today? It was really, really funny. Someone said to me, oh yeah, because in Malaysia, they use the word reach. Reach means have you arrived, right? So they'll ask me, have you reached, right? Have you reached, right? I'm like, reached. We think about reach for something, like reach for the cereal box, reach for the pencil. But when they say reach, it actually means arrive. So they're asking me, are they reach? And I was like, what are they rich? I don't know if they're rich. How do I know if they're rich? No, reach. I was like, and oh, you mean have they arrived? Have they reached? Yeah. So yeah, just let you know, there are some things that I still don't get completely yet. Okay. Well, this is the week of perfection, right? It is the week of perfection, and I'm sure that a lot of the head leaders were a little bit stressed because they had to do the Wednesday message perfectly, right? More than anything else. So they're like, oh my gosh, it's a week of perfection. I got to do a perfect sermon, right? So yes, it is the week of perfection, and I liked it, especially where, even from the Tuesday message, it's kind of reaching, I'm saying reaching, right? The history is moving towards perfection, because the only time you can fully fulfill history is when both sides, both people in the relationship, are doing things perfectly, right? So God and us have to do things perfectly, and this is when God's will can be fulfilled and when God's history can be done, right? Especially if we understand, as we hear, Sunsim always talks about, it's a relationship history. It's not just God. If God could do it by himself, then it's just done by itself, right? It's not about God doing it by himself. It's about God who can do what? It's about God doing it together with us, and both sides have to do it well in order for history to be made. And the perfect example from the Wednesday message was, it's like the head and the body. The head can think all at once, but as long as the body doesn't do it, it will never fulfill exactly what the head wants to do, right? So we need to fulfill the will when we must do things perfectly, right? And if we think about if everything has reached a pinnacle from the Old Testament, New Testament, the complete Testament, that we have reached the pinnacle of the time period that we're finally fulfilling the last purpose of creation, the final time, right? And we have to do things absolutely perfectly. And this is why, especially this week, guys, right before 316, we have to reach, and the way Sunsteam says it it's perfect, right? The way Sunsteam explains it is perfect. Talking about doing things perfect. We're like, oh my gosh, perfect. Oh my gosh, the stress. But then he says, reach one more level, right? Before 316, just reach another level, right? Listen to the message. This is how you raise your level. Listen to the message and put it into action, and then you will raise your level, right? And that's all God really wants from us, right? Put the words into action and raise it to the next level. Right? So God is, God, think about this. God is always raising the level. History is always rising, right? The time period is always reaching a new level, which means that we have to be the ones that have to stay with the time period and reach a newer and newer level. We can't stay the same, right? And how sad would it be if you stayed the same for the rest of your life, right? We're always wanting the higher level, right? We always want to be the ones, we want to reach a higher satisfaction, right? We want to do things in new ways. We want to do it perfectly to raise the level. And we have to understand this is something that we really have to kind of press our minds and challenge to do even more. We got to be perfect, got to do it diligently, and then each of the tasks that we do will be even more diligent, right? So, one of the problems, and I like this because Sunsteam talks about this multiple times, is a lot of times we make big mistakes because we're only thinking about one thing. And then the cool example that Sunstein gave was the most simple one was driving, right? And as it's easy as it sounds like, to be a good driver, it's actually not, the way he put it was, think about it. To be a good driver doesn't mean you drive slow. It doesn't mean that just, what does it mean you don't get to accidents? It means you have so many things going in your mind when you're driving, right? Like you're watching the road, watching your speed, you're watching the cars behind you, watching the cars beside you. There's just so many things going on that if you want to do things perfectly, you must do it looking at multiple things. But a lot of times people make mistakes because they only think of one thing. And if they only think about just the speed, then they don't see the cars beside them and behind them. Like if they go too slow on a freeway, you're going to actually make it more dangerous on the highway, right? That's why you have to go with the flow of traffic. And I know in America and Canada too, that if you go too slow on the roads, you can also get a ticket for being too slow, because that's also dangerous too, right? So we cannot just look at one thing, we have to look at multiple things, right? So that's why even when we're making big decisions in life, right? So like if you're going to, think about this, like, what would be a good one? Yeah, so like if we're dealing with things where a newcomer is leaving their old church, moving to the new one, we can't just sit there and say to them, well, you have to leave because this is a new time period, so if you don't leave, then you don't love God. Like it's just looking at one thing, right? And if we begin to worry about things when we look at only one thing. But when we look at multiple factors and multiple things going around, and we're like, okay, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting too. Oh, okay, that makes sense also. And we have to be those that really understand this at a much clearer level too of how we're going to do things, right? So I hope that all of us too will really be able to, like in all the decisions, don't just base it on one thing. Like one thing could be core and more important, but we can't just rely on that one thing itself, right? Guys, this is the week, raising the level, just one thing about your life. Think about just one thing right now. And I think this is the easiest way that Sunstein put it is, just think about one thing. Think about one thing you want to change and change the level on that one thing. And I think that would make things a lot easier instead of like going, wait, look in the rear view. Okay, look in the side view. Okay, now look at your speed. No, come on, man. Just want to look at all three of it. No, it's like, hey, guys, just remember that just check your rear view mirror every 5 seconds. That's what I learned in driving school. Not even go to driving school. In the driving book. Like every 5 seconds, you're supposed to check the rear view mirror just in case, right? You got to know what's going on around you. Right? So I hope that all of us here too will realize more and more, especially when it comes down to that vision that Sunstein had, which is a great vision, and the drawing is perfect. We spent all this time paving that highway, but we can't get on it because we haven't paved the on-ramp, right? So we spent all that time, and the best way that Sunstein put it is, it's made ready, guys. that highway is ready. You've spent all your time making that highway, and it's so pitiful, it's so sad that you can't actually ride it. And it's these contradictions and the things that we have, these imperfections and our faults of ourselves that we have to make them perfect, right? You think about it, we work so hard to build the big thing, but imagine you build this great apartment, but then there's no elevator to get there, right? So you have a great apartment, you own the apartment, but there's no way to get there, right? That would be really sad too, right? So all of us, it's that we have to realize more and more, it's about getting rid of the faults, getting rid of the mistakes too, right? So the basically three things, as you said: find your faults, fix your faults, and then use them. Not use faults, but use what you fixed, right? The faith, all about the one thing that's great about Providence is it's all about making yourself. That's what faith is, right? It's about making yourself, loving the Holy Trinity perfectly, living as their counterparts of love, praying to them. And, don't this is something that I need to work on is, lately, sometimes you get tired or whatever it is. And it's like, don't pray on the surface, right? You have to pray deeply to actually connect to God. And I think that's something that we really have to think about. That once you connect, why would you even leave? But if you don't connect, you're just waiting there and you don't get to that connection, this is when you get bored and then you want to leave, right? It makes sense. If you connect, you wouldn't leave the prayer. You'd be like, wow, God, I'm so happy that I met you. I'm so happy I feel you right now. But it's when you don't connect for a while, you're just like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Is it really worth it, kind of thing, right? So we have to reach that point when we hit deep prayer, right? Listen well to the word, but don't just listen. We have to be those that understand. Right? It's kind of like what Sunseem said. It wasn't Wednesday. It was on Tuesday. I liked when he said, why did Jesus say, be perfect? Right? For the Lord your God is perfect, because all the Pharisees and Sadducees were living in hypocrisy and they're living in superficial faith. And that's why they couldn't accept him. And that's why he's telling them you have to live a perfect faith. Right? And guys, remember, if you want to be perfect, what's the number one thing that matters? And in the message is great. There's a great advice too. It says you have to truly want it first. If you truly want it, then you can become perfect, right? And perfection, actually, even biblically in Hebrew too, the word perfection is actually the same word as completion, more than the word perfection that we think about right now today, right? So, we need to be those people that do well without anyone managing us. Now, I'm not saying push people away, but it's just, we got to be good no matter what the circumstance situation is. We don't shake no matter what, right? So we have to be those that don't make God worry. We have to be the ones that make God feel at ease. That, like this, I'm not saying literally like this, but that if God left us alone in a room for like 10 days, he wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, how are they doing? Oh my gosh, I'm so worried about them, right? So we have to be those that are not, we have to really get ourselves to that position where we're not lazy. We do our responsibilities. We don't complain. We don't kind of push ourselves into that imperfect life, right? Oh, what about the definition of perfect life? That was great too, wasn't it? Imperfect life is just staying at the same level. Which means a perfect life means it's continuously growing, which is great, right? So we're thinking about perfect life meaning you have to reach perfection, but we know that in Providence, perfection is something that is ongoing. You can get more and more perfect. And I love it how you're imperfect if you stop growing, if you stay at the same level, okay? So yeah, just so many things going on, especially when it came to the Wednesday message. I hope you guys really enjoyed it more than anything else. And yeah, I would love to hear what you guys think about it also. But that is the word study for today from the Wednesday message. Hope you guys really, really loved it. And that means what? It is Musical Friday, which means today's song of choice is going to be from a musical. And I chose a song from the Hamilton musical. Of course, one of the best musicals of all time. I've never seen it, but I've heard all the rave reviews, and it's never can get tickets, right? So the Hamilton musical, this song is called Helpless. So this is the 10th song from Act 1 of the musical Hamilton, and it's based on the life of Alexander Hamilton, which came out on Broadway in 2015 by Lin-Manuel Miranda, right? He wrote all the music, lyrics, and everything from it, right? But this song focuses especially on the romance and eventual wedding of Eliza Schuyler and Alexander Hamilton. And Eliza is introduced to Hamilton by her sister Angelica during a ball held while the army is stationed in Moorestown for the winter in early 1780, and they immediately start a correspondence, and Hamilton wastes no time in asking Eliza's father for his permission to marry his daughter, which is granted, and then Hamilton shares with Eliza his concerns regarding his orphanhood and lack of wealth and station, but Eliza dismisses them, and the song ends on the notes of the nuptial march played at their wedding. So guys, this is the song from the musical Hamilton. This song is called Helpless.
We were at a revel with some rebels on a hot night, laughing at my sister as she's dazzling the room. Then you walked in and my heart went boom, trying to catch your eye from the side of the ballroom. Everybody's dancing in the band's top volume, grind to the rhythm as we wine and dine. Grab my sister and whisper, yo, this one's mine. My sister made her way across the room to you, and I got nervous thinking, what you gonna do? She grabs you by the arm, I'm thinking I'm through. Then you look back at me and suddenly I'm helpless. Oh, look at those eyes, oh, yeah, I'm helpless. Down for the count and I'm drowning and I'm helpless. I'm so into you. Look into your eyes, so into you. I'm helpless. I know I'm down for the count and I'm drowning and I'm.
Where are you taking me?
I'm about to change your life.
Then by all means, lead the way.
Elizabeth Schuyler, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Skylar,
My sister.
Thank you for all your service.
if it takes fighting a war for us to meet, it will have been worth it.
I'll leave you to it.
1 week later, I'm writing a letter nightly. Now my life gets better every letter that you write me. Laughing at my sister cause she wants to form a harem.
I'm just saying, if you really love me, you would share 'em.
Ha! 2 weeks later, in the living room stressing. My father's stone-faced while you're asking for his blessing. I'm dying inside as you whine and dine, and I'm trying not to cry cause there's nothing that your mind can't do. My father makes his way across the room to you. I panic for a second thinking we're through, but then he shakes your hand and says be true, and you turn back to me smiling.
I don't have a dollar to my name, an acre of land, a troop to command, a dollop of fame. All I have is my honor, a tolerance for pain, a couple of college credits and my top-notch brain. Insane, your family brings out a different side of me. Peggy confides in me, Angelica tried to take a bite of me. No stress, my love for you is never in doubt. We'll get a little place in Harlem and we'll figure it out. I've been living without a family since I was a child. My father left, my mother died. I grew up buck wild, but I'll never forget my mother's face, that was real. As long as I'm alive, Eliza, I swear to God you'll never feel so.
I do what you do.
Eliza,
I do what you do.
I never felt so. Yo, my life is going fine cause Eliza's in it.
I look into your eyes and the sky's the limit. Down for the count and I'm drowning in 'em. In New York you can be a new man. In New York you can be a new man. In New York you can be a new man.
And that was the musical Friday song of choice for today from the Hamilton musical, and that song was Helpless. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. Every Friday we will have a new song from a Broadway musical or even a movie musical too, because there's just so many good songs out there. Okay, guys? So it is Friday, guys. Last segment of the day. We all know what that means. We're going straight into the MBTI 16 personalities with Wanchan.
Hey guys, this is Wanchan, and if you're new, we talk about MBTI, a personality test that you fall into one of 16 types with 4 different cognitive functions. Let's get into it. Cool. So we've already talked about the first and the fourth cognitive functions in our stack. First being dominant, the fourth being our inferior function. And now we're going to be talking about our auxiliary function, aka the advisor. And today we'll be specifically talking about the ESTJs, the extroverted sensing thinking judging types, and ESFJs, extroverted sensing feeling judging types, where feeling and thinking is the difference. And we'll be talking about SI, extroverted sensing, and the second as the advisor function, the second in the stack. So let's get into it. So we got to remember that our dominant function is the ESTJ and the ESFJ. So this is today's talk is all about these guys. So TE and FE, they tend to be characterized by their, extrovertedness. They aim to have a very objective measure of success, and they feel very strongly to change or manage undesirable aspects in the world, and then they tend to have extrinsic goals and rewards that they search for. So really, real world, kind of physical world things. And their advisor, so this is their dominant, right? But their advisor, it really helps to kind of rein in and keep their dominant function in check and balanced, I think is the right word. And the advisor gives the dominant function criteria that it has to meet. You can aim for an objective standard as long as you develop thyself. And, you can go ahead and deal with the undesirable situations, but as long as you can do it with the right intentions. So, you can go for those rewards that you're looking for as long as they're meaningful. So do you see how there's two parts of it, right? There's this dominant, but then there's advisor saying, okay, don't forget these things. For ESTJs and ESFJs, they have SI, introverted sensing, as their auxiliary advisor function. So TE, FE being their respective dominant functions. So for ESTJs and ESFJs, they prioritize integration into an environment. But SI, and make sure that they don't sacrifice their physical health and well-being in order to do that. So TE and FE being judging functions and extroverted, they tend to jump into an objective judgment or perception. And so SI, it should and it needs to gather the details in and then make sure that they double check those perceptions to see if they're correct and not flawed in any situation. The insecurities for the ESTJs and the ESFJs, they tend to get triggered by SI development, so their second function. And being, in that position, second on the ladder of 4, the advisor, the auxiliary function, it has a strong influence on the cognition of yourself. Although, there can be kind of a resistance to developing it, but, sometimes the ESTJ and the ESFJs, they can, refuse to develop SI in favor of just sticking in the dominant functions comfort zones. So, if, for example, you can just dismiss inconvenient details or rules, or ignore the need to be careful and methodical. And you can struggle with self-control and self-discipline, and you can't prioritize well, and you tend to overextend sometimes, and then you tend to sacrifice physical healing for superficial gains. So what does it mean to develop yourself? You develop your cognitive function. It means to incorporate it into your sense of self, and it slowly becomes a conscious part of you. And, through the process of, developing yourself, it's not easy. And then that process of it becoming part of you, you can become kind of susceptible to being in a type of grip situation. As we talked about the demon grip, and you're kind of losing control in a way. you can kind of experience, if you're starting to develop SI, kind of nitpicking minor details that go against pre-existing expectations and trying to enforce proper procedures and conduct or etiquette, or being too precise or exact on getting results, inflexible or over dependent on strict routines or rituals that you have, or you try to micromanage details or problems that create discomfort. So on the other side, when you really get proper support from SI and you really develop it properly so that it is able to work healthfully with your dominant function, you'll start to pay attention to details but not be neurotic about them. You start to value proper procedure, but you can also be flexible. You learn from mistakes as you make proper goals for yourself, and then you start to benefit from routines rather than just being a slave to them. And you're able to handle discomfort and treat it as a challenge. So, you're able to do, make goals, but also look after yourself at the same time. Awesome. So ESTJs and ESFJs, I hope that you can learn a lot from this today, as well as everybody. Thanks everyone for listening again. Hope that you have a great week and a great Sunday. God bless, and talk to you guys soon. Bye.
And thank you, Wonchon, for another wonderful episode of the MBTI 16 Personalities. Hope you guys learned something new today also, and I hope you guys are going to enjoy and have an amazing weekend. That was the last segment for the day and the last segment for the week. Hope you guys will enjoy it. Remember, tonight we're going to have another video from the Espresso with Sky, and in the comments, just to help us out, go ahead and write down, what was it again? We're going to write down for this, what were we going to write down for this one? Oh, write down your favorite hobby. Hobby would be very great for tonight, okay? So everyone, have a wonderful day, and remember, on Sunday, what's going to happen? Sunday is going to be Sunday edition with Hannah Mulvihill from America, and then we'll see you guys again on Monday on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with Sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly, so let's realign. Just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire